All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the EduPassions Conference. So it is now the 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time hour. So welcome back. We have a great session for you about connecting with parents using Seesaw. So we have our awesome presenter here, Kim. So Kim, how you doing?
Hey, Sarah, I'm doing pretty well, I think.
Fantastic. Yes, yes. You are you are awesome. So we're excited to have you here. Also on deck we have Marjana from Croatia and Justin from New Jersey and Shelly from Texas. So how's everybody doing today?
Good. The rain is starting to make me a little sleepy, but other than that,
Definitely. All right. So while Kim is bringing up her slides, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kim. So she is a media specialist from Daytona Beach, Florida. She taught grades K through 3 before coming to media. She is passionate about helping kids take ownership of their learning. You can connect with Kim on Twitter at KMHMartin, as well as on her site, ptedolphinsmediacenter.weebly.com. So, without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Kim.
okay, so here we go. I'm talking today about connecting with parents using web tools to help you connect. So I'll go ahead and click and give you the backstory. When I first came to the district where I am now, I came from Orlando to a tiny little school called Bonner Elementary. And the minute I pulled onto the campus, it felt like I was at home. Um, my interview was more or less a conversation with my principal rather than some question and answer session. And just while I was there that one day, I got to meet some of the parents and I got to meet, some of the people who work there, and it was just a really awesome experience. So I was there from 2001 until 2008 as a second grade teacher. And while it wasn't necessarily the easiest school to work in, Title I, high poverty, that sort of thing, we were a family. Our students were our kids, our families were our families, and we had our ups and downs. We alternately loved each other and fought with each other on about different things, and we grew together as a family. So in 2007, 2008, my district decided to close some smaller schools in an effort to save money. And so my school was one of the schools that closed, and we were merged with the school where I am now, Palm Terrace Elementary. And it's the same basic Title I high poverty situation, but from the minute I walked onto campus, it just felt different. It just felt more of like almost like a business kind of feel. I didn't get that family, we're all in this together kind of feel. And while, different schools are, different, it just, I don't know, the feel of it, the interactions between parents and faculty and administration were just different. So that started bugging me, and it took a while for it to kind of grow. And then this past spring, as we were getting ready for field day, we approached field day differently as far as whether or not children would be able to participate. And I'm not going to get into whether or not I agreed with it, but at the faculty meeting, our principal actually stated, we need to let these parents know if their children aren't going to participate. We need, because you know how these parents can be if they find out at the last minute their children aren't participating, and that really, really, really bugged me. I didn't like the use of these parents and these children. And it just sort of drove home that whole us versus them thing. It's just like when you would walk into the office, you could definitely tell that, they were trying to keep parents, at arm's length. And I don't know, just the adversarial part of it just it never sat right with me. So that got me thinking about what I could do as a media specialist to try to help bridge those gaps and to try to bring us together as a family to benefit ultimately our students. I mean, it's not really for me, it's not really for our teachers, but it's more to benefit our kids and their families so that they can be successful when they're learning. So my idea came about when after I read George Couros' book, The Innovators Mindset. One of the things that he mentioned in the book, and it just kept coming back to me, was, innovation doesn't have to be this big outside the box kind of thing. It can be, you can innovate within your box. And I know, and this is not a negative about my district, but I know for my district, we tend to be conservative when it comes to technology and how much student information is shared, and rightly so. So I started thinking about ways I could innovate inside the box. And after reading that book, I also read an article from A.J. Giuliani, and essentially the message from AJ's blog post was, sometimes you just got to go for it, as if you have nothing else to lose. And so my idea really, it's not, if it doesn't fly, if it doesn't work, it's not really going to hurt me. It's not going to hurt the school or the students. So I'm going for it this year. And so this is what we're doing. We're moving from an us versus them to more of a we. And I started this past Wednesday with 2 teachers. And hey, that's 2 that I didn't have from the beginning. And we started talking about using technology to connect with our parents. And I've looked at several different websites. I didn't want to just go with my first instinct, but I looked at Collaborate Classroom. I looked at Apple Tree, and there's another one out there called Blooms. I believe that's what it's called, and I played with that one a little bit, but ultimately I came back to 2 that I know are relatively easy to use from a teacher perspective, as well as using them with students. So what I decided to do was I decided to promote the use of Remind and Seesaw. Remind to have those instant, messages going to parents and having them, be able to know what's going on. Okay, we've got a field trip coming up in 3 weeks. Have you seen that permission slip? If not, here's one. You can print it out or message me back and I'll get you another one, that sort of thing. And then, of course, Seesaw is all about building that portfolio and giving parents the picture of what's going on in the classroom. So we talked about Remind, and Remind gives parents that up-to-the-minute information. As a media specialist, I do send text messages out to parents who subscribe. I send them, reminders about books being turned in before major holidays. I run a couple of clubs. I'm running the Math Science Club. I also do the Youth Experiencing Symphony Club, and Remind has been very helpful in reminding parents about club meetings. And then when we leave the symphony at 9:30 at night on a Friday night, I can send them a quick text message to say, hey, we're getting on the bus, we're heading back. And that way the parents aren't sitting in the parking lot for an hour waiting for us to come back. And so we talked about different ways to use Remind. I do like the fact that you can message parents individually, so that if something does come up, you can talk to the parent individually, and even if you don't get to see them face to face, they're still able to keep informed as far as what's going on in your classroom. And then Seesaw, and I can't say enough about the power that Seesaw has to give parents a window into your classroom. I know that some schools are moving toward having video cameras so that parents can monitor classrooms and that sort of thing, but we're not there yet, and I'm kind of glad we're not. But I really like the fact that our students can take things that they're learning, whether it's on iPads or whether it's, even if it's paper and pencil, they can take a picture of it using one of the iPads that we have, and they can upload it to their portfolio so that their parents can see what they're learning. So at the end of the day, when, mom picks, one of our students up from school, and they ask, well, what did you learn today? A lot of times our students, focus on lunch, and they focus on either recess or PE. And it's just a way to open up that conversation between parent and child. And even with Seesaw, parents can, make comments on their child's work, can offer them words of encouragement, and our students can go in and they can see, hey, yeah, my mom really cares about what I'm learning, and my mom wants me to do well. So it's a great way for excuse me, for parents to connect and be able to see what's going on in the classroom. And the other thing about Seesaw that I think is really powerful is, once, even with young students, I used it with first graders this year when I taught summer school. Even with young students, after you show them once or twice how to upload their work into Seesaw, I mean, they just take it and run with it. Even to the point, it was kind of funny, for a couple of students I had to say, okay, you don't have to upload everything into Seesaw, but one or two things a day is really good, because as the teacher, you go on and you have to approve what they've uploaded, and when you have 60 or 70 things that you have to go through every day to make sure it's okay to upload, that can be a bit much. So again, it teaches, you can use it to teach children discrimination as far as what they want to upload. And again, having parents see the variety of things that our students are doing every day is pretty powerful. So those are the two tools that I've gone with. And I have this question on my slide because, I at first, when I started thinking about this, I thought, is this going to solve all our problems? And I thought, oh, it's going to be so awesome, and all our parents are going to sign up. But ultimately, no. It's not going to solve all the problems that we have at our school. We will have parents who, for whatever reason, and their reasons are their own, they're not going to want to connect with Remind or Seesaw. We did discuss during our meeting Wednesday about whether or not, at least with Remind, there's a way for you to go ahead and put parents in there if you have their numbers. I'm hesitant to forcibly involve parents. I don't know that delivers the right message. Our principal makes a once-a-week phone call to parents about different things, and that is sort of a forced involvement. Of course, you don't have to answer your phone when he calls, but I would rather it be more of a voluntary thing, and having our parents want to have that up-to-the-minute information and to be involved, even if they can't be on school property all the time. Is it going to move our school from where we are academically, according to our state assessments, to higher achievement? It might, or it might not. I'm hoping that it would at least help us move in an upward direction as far as that goes, from the aspect that I think once our students see that their families are more involved and are able to see what they're doing, I'm hoping it will inspire our kids to strive to do better and to push themselves to achieve more. But again, I'm not naive enough to think that that's going to solve all the problems. There are a myriad of other problems that just, I two apps or two web services are not going to be able to combat, but at least I think it's a step in the right direction. And as far as being innovative, again, I'm innovating inside my box. This is stuff that my district supports. They are totally on board with it. So I've tried in the past to do some innovations outside the box, and that hasn't always worked. So I decided to do it in a little bit safer mode. Again, it's for my school, for a lot of my teachers, it's something that is new to them, and so hopefully they'll embrace it and we'll see some positive things come out of this. I want to thank you. I'm fairly certain I didn't use the whole 15 minutes, or at least I hope I didn't. Again, my information is right here on the last slide. If you want to connect with me, follow me on Twitter, message me there. There's a contact form on my website, ptedolphinsmediacenter.weebly.com, or you can email me at ptemedia67@gmail.com. And I thank you so very much for coming, and I'm going to stop sharing and come back to where everybody is. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Kim. That 15 minutes goes by pretty fast, but we do have enough time for a few questions. So I know actually the first one that I saw, and then I'll let Justin come on and let you know the question he has. But I saw one actually from Mariana, who's here, and I'm sure others have the same kind of questions when it comes to using Remind and these other things. Have you ever come across parents who maybe don't have a cell phone or maybe don't have a way to use these technologies, and what do you do for those parents?
For parents who don't have access to cell phones, and I got to be honest with you, even in my Title I school, I mean, we're at like 98% free and reduced lunch. Most of my parents have a cell phone, even if it's a basic cell phone that they can just call and text from. Most of them have cell phones, and even a lot of our kids have devices. They don't have necessarily laptops or desktop computers, but they do have devices. So if a parent has nothing, and we do have some families that don't. We still use the tried and true, printouts and paper and things like that. But ultimately, we will keep parents in the loop no matter what. It's easier, I think, with technology because those papers get lost when they ride the bus home.
All right, Kim, we have Jay Sager at jsager9 as a question for you. And the question is, the toughest job in my city is parents are least interested to stay connected with teachers and school activities such as parents' monthly meetings, collecting the report cards every quarter, etc. Though some teachers try to connect all parents using social media like WhatsApp or Facebook, the interest from parents is too limited. In such cases, what should teachers do?
I think then you still have to use a combination of ways to engage parents. Still having the monthly PTA meetings, SAC meetings, special events. I know at my school one of the biggest or most well-attended special events was we got a photographer to come and do family Christmas pictures at a greatly reduced rate, and it was amazing how many families showed up for that. But as far as keeping parents in the loop and that sort of thing, I mean, the only thing I can recommend is you got to just keep trying. I try to steer clear of Facebook, but as far as I have a media Twitter account and I have a handful of followers there. I do use Remind, and we're starting to use Seesaw. So we're just going to keep working at it and still using the paper copies to keep parents in the loop and that sort of thing. Again, I don't think you can force it because that leaves a really sour taste in people's mouths.
And I think one of the beautiful
Sorry, I was just going to say I'm not sure I totally answered the question, but
Well, I think one of the beautiful things about Seesaw, it's multi-purpose. So, A, it's a digital portfolio. So as a teacher, I have all my stuff in the portfolio for my assessments. So it's doing that for me. Now, in addition to that, it's allowing the parents to see what I'm doing in my class as well. So
right.
even if half the parents or 70% of the parents aren't looking, it doesn't matter because now I still have my stuff all in one spot. The kids are able to do multiple things. So when we have the technology that's not just the single use, like our old thing that used to put on the wrist that just told time, but now we have things that do multiple. That's the
Right.
beauty of Seesaw there. So if they don't buy into it, that's fine because you're still using it for other purposes anyway, at least in my opinion.
That's true. And I don't know if there's an answer as far as getting parents to be more involved. I think now with everything that parents have going on themselves socially and with social media and things like that, I think it's, sometimes as teachers we say, oh, it's just one more thing. And I'm thinking now maybe some of our parents are thinking, oh, it's just one more thing I've got to pay attention to. And when you have parents that work two or three jobs in order to make ends meet, it could be a little overwhelming. But, we just keep trying to keep those lines of communication open.
And I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Did you ever think about using Seesaw as one of the parent communications of actually doing a selfie video yourself or having the teachers do it and then say, hey, this is what's going on in my class this week or whatever, and then sending it out through Seesaw and using it that way? So you almost don't need Remind in that way as much. You could use Seesaw in that way.
I hadn't. I do have a friend who has started using it in her 5th grade gifted class, and she does post things that go out to all the parents who are involved. So she's not using Remind. So that would actually be a really good idea for using Seesaw and then just having one place for parents to get the information. And I like that idea. So yay, thank you, Justin.
I have a question here from my living room, a teacher here, and he says, because he works with parents that aren't necessarily always connected, but he says he finds that feeding them works. And then what are your feelings about that?
Yeah, feeding them works to a point. I did a night of code last year within the week of Hour of Code, and I advertised well in advance, and I paid for pizza and, had pizza and drinks, and only 2 families showed up. So our custodians were very well fed for a couple of days after that. But, feeding does work a lot of the time. Again, like I said, we had the greatly reduced family Christmas picture night, and that was probably one of the best attended events apart from our Dolphin Idol talent show that I've ever seen as far as having nightly events. So yeah, feeding is a good thing for families and teachers and custodians.
Well, thank you so much. That was fantastic. We had so much interest, so you'll have to go back to the chat box. So thank you again, Kimberly, for and we put your link somewhere to follow you. I believe it's at KM Howell. I mean at KM is it Martin, right?
It's KMH Martin.
KMH Martin. Okay, sorry about that. And
That's
we'd
okay.
like to thank our facilitators, Justin and Mariana. And thank you all so much again for joining us. And we're going to go to the next session. So thank you.
Yay. Thank you, Shelley.